Hello, BookTube. It's a Sunday afternoon. You probably hear the TV in the next room. My wife's watching a show. Kids are upstairs playing computer games. And for me, it seems like the perfect time to do a book tag. And this is Josh's Muffin tag. Josh from Literary Gladiators, a channel I very much enjoy. And this is his 15th Foodie tag. This is based on the muffins, but I have done a few of his other foodie tags. I haven't done all 15, and they are fun. And so I think we got yeah, he says here the muffin day is February 20th, and it's a foodie holiday. So I was tagged by Josh, and a few other booktubers I watched were also tagged. So I'll put a link to his video and his original tag down below, and then he has all of his foodie tags and links to them listed, so they're great fun. This one was a bit thought-provoking. I struggled a little bit with some of it, and that's a good thing, because it made me really think about what I was doing. So I gathered up some books, and hopefully we'll get through this. So let's go on Josh's Muffin book tag. So the first question is blueberry, or the first flavor. If someone said literature, who is the first writer that comes to mind? Well, mine's accidental, just part of my upbringing. My father was in graduate school when I was a young man, and he would bring home books that he had to read for class. I remember Alan Payton, Cry of the Beloved Country. I remember a few. He had to read Grapes of Wrath, a few other things like that. But the one that really stuck in my head and I read and loved was Hermann Hesse. Right here's an example. This is Stories of 5 Decades. I love these old covers. I had all the paperbacks at one time. I have a couple hardbacks now. I don't have all of Hesse's work. But to me, he's always sort of been what I think of when I think of a literary writer. So number 2 is English, a work of British literature that became easier to understand when discussed. And for that, I'm actually picking up a Russian and American writer, Vladimir Nabokov, Lectures on Literature. And when I read, and if you go to page 63 in this thing, he walks you through works of literature. And in this case, I used his work. See, there is a map he drew. I used his work when I was reading Bleak House by Charles Dickens. So you can see how he annotated. This is a wonderful book. I think he did a book on Don Quixote. I always say Coyote because when I was a kid of the cartoons, Don Quixote. He did this one, which includes, let's see here, Jane Austen's Mansfield Park, Bleak House, Flaubert's Madame Bovary, Robert Louis Stevenson's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Proust, The Walk by Swan's Place, Kafka, The Metamorphosis, and James Joyce's Ulysses. But he did lectures in, so this is lectures in literature. But he also did one, lectures in Russian literature, and let's see if you can see that, and the Don Quixote one. So I actually would like to find the other two. My copy of this is nice to read, but pretty ugly thing. No dust jacket or anything. So that's who I would think of. So number 3, Corn, a book that is great to take on to go and read at any time. So for just pure relaxing reading and fun, here, I just lost my screen here, and fun, there's George MacDonald Fraser, Flashman. In this case, I picked up Flashman in The Great Game. These are a spoof on Empire. They're hilarious, I think. So, I think I've read them all, and I can go back if I just need pure entertainment, this is the stuff. So it's fun. So number 4 is chocolate chip. A writer you feel was or has been able to write during all aspects of their lives. For this, I would say, because he started writing right after World War II, and he wrote up until last year when he passed away, and that would be Douglas Riemann. He wrote primarily nautical fiction, and under a pen name, he wrote as Alexander Kent from The Age of Sail. So he did both. He did, you know, the World War II type adventure and then The Age of Sail. So Douglas Riemann, I think, I don't have a picture of him on any of these, but sad to see him go, but he left a legacy of books behind. I love reading them. Good entertainment. So number 5, Oatmeal Raisins. A bookish trait you feel is just not necessary. For me, it's the tendency to call books of a certain kind literary fiction, as if nothing else was literary, except for whatever you happen to want to put in that category. So I like nautical fiction. Patrick O'Brian, he wrote as well as anybody did in the language during his lifetime. There's science fiction writers who, to me, are on a par, if not better, than most of the writers of their era. So I don't believe in the whole notion of literary fiction. They tend to have very ardent supporters, but I just find it to be a little silly. Number 6, Bran. What kind of reading material do you find you constantly force yourself through? Well, I don't force myself through it because I don't bother with most of it. And again, it would be literary fiction, so-called. It always seems to be the same middle-aged writing instructor who doesn't want to follow the rules, or it drives me crazy. It bores me to death. Number 7, Cranberry-Orange. Which 2 characters from different works would you like to see in one? I would like to see, right here, Richard Sharp, Bernard Cornwell's Sharp series, Napoleonic War stuff, and C.S. Forester's Hornblower. So one's on land primarily, and one's at sea primarily. And they're very different characters. Richard Sharp's a rough around the edges, and in a way that Hornblower is not. So they would both they're both very effective, both very brave, but they're from different sides of the track. And it would be really fun if somebody could do a novel with both of them as characters. I'm sure that wouldn't be legal, but it would be fun. So, let's see, Coffee Cake, which is number 8. If you could see any poet, dead or alive, recite poetry at your cafe, which one would it be? Well, I'm hoping they're alive. And, but I'm going to pick somebody who's been dead for a very, 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 very long time. And I would love to see Homer. How cool would that be? Yeah, that would be great fun. And then, number 9, Cruffin. So it's a cross, I guess, between a croissant and a muffin. A great short work of French literature. One of the French literature I like is, the volumes could be rather long, Three Musketeers, those types of things. But in this case, I picked The Letters of Abelard and Heloise, the Penguin classic here. And the story of Heloise and Abelard remains one of the world's most celebrated and tragic love affairs. Despite their misfortune, these staunch Christians, as their letters revealed, found a path through self-pity into acceptance of a changed but lasting relationship. Whilst Heloise attained fame for her learning and administrative genius as an abbess, Abelard became an inspired teacher in Paris and the foremost logician of his day. So I've always been fascinated by the story, and I love it's worth the read. It's very fascinating. So next one is number 10, which is Muffin Top, a work that would be better abridged. So for this, I went Stephen King, Under the Dome. And it's not because I'm picking on Stephen King. I am a little, I guess, but I actually like some of his stuff. I haven't read all of it. I just felt that this particular book could have been condensed down a little bit. There were parts of it I enjoyed. Parts that you won't forget when you read it, like the poor woodchuck that gets sliced in half. And, ugh. However, I think that one probably could have used some tightening up a little bit. So then is, what is your favorite muffin? I would say English muffins. And let's go to Drury Lane, number 12. Who do you tag? So a lot of folks I know have been tagged in this. He's actually got the list here so I could take a look and not repeat anybody. So I would say I'd like to tag Ernest Lee Eston, Peg of Book Prize fame, Elena Macradina, Dane Cobain, and Todd the Librarian. So if you haven't been tagged and you're interested in this, love to see what you come up with, and thank you, BookTube.